Hello and welcome to the Southbound Sports Show. I'm your host, Richie Leahy, here with my co-host, Maddie B. And right off the top of the show, big injuries continue to hit the NFL. Prayers go out to Dak Prescott as he suffered a gruesome ankle injury. I think it was pretty much a compound fracture. I put on here a dislocated ankle because that's what the NFL was releasing it as. But I just really don't know what else the NFL can do, because I think it goes back to the preseason stuff. They didn't have enough games to warm up, and I know that's kind of like a freak injury, but there are so many primetime guys out across the league right now. And it's been how many years since the NFL has been broadcasting on TV, and they still don't know what to do when a big-time player gets injured. They had the cameras on Dak as he was crying for a couple of minutes straight. And I thought, you're not showing a highlight for obvious reasons. I don't even think it would be considered a highlight, a low light of him getting injured. But why are you zoomed in on him crying? Like, cut to another game. You have all these game footages and things, and I feel bad for like the players and their families. I know their families want to be checked in and kind of see like what's going to happen, but just watching the guy cry on TV, that doesn't do anything for me. I feel bad for him. Did you see the play?
Yes, I did. And it was terrible. And what made it worse was Tony Romo going, I think it's a cramp.
See, that's why you got to get on my level and just mute the announcers. Then you don't know. You just know, like, yeah, that's bad. He's crying. I figured, oh, he's going to be out. Then I don't have to listen to them try to just guess what it is, because they're in the booth. They can't see. I mean, you get a better view on TV than the people in the booth get. Like, if we're being honest. I know people try to downplay it. Being a fan and trying to be there to give, like, an outcome, like, affect the outcome of the game by yelling and stuff, that's what being a fan is. But other than that, like, the games this year when there's no fans, I don't even know if it's worth it to show up.
Well, and I think that's what made it a lot worse, is that they couldn't pan to, like, the fans' reaction in the stadium because there was nobody there.
That's a good point, but that's what I'm saying, like, they need to have a thing like, hey, guy gets hurt. Why don't we just cut to the highlights we show coming from commercials? Or they try to shove a highlight in between plays. It's like most people that are obsessive about it, they've already seen that play because they're watching like 5 games at a time, or they got like the fantasy highlight already. So for me, it's almost like, okay, at what point are they going to do something different? But I don't even know what they could do. But just based around the injuries, like another big one, like the Panthers with Christian McCaffrey out. Now Mike Davis has been going crazy. I think he's 6th in fantasy points right now for running backs overall. And he missed the first couple games really because McCaffrey played. So he could be the number 1 guy in the entire league if he had played a full season. But now with that injury, he's going to be coming back in a week or two. What happens? Is he going to sign a big-time deal? I don't know. You know who's looking to make a move, though? Le'Veon Bell. Did you see that?
No.
He's looking to get out of the Jets. He doesn't think Adam Gase is using him right. He doesn't think the offense is good. He's only getting 3.3 yards a carry. So he needs to go out and just figure out something that he's going to be able to do. I don't know.
Enter Bill Belichick.
If he went to the Patriots, that would be crazy. But they got to get their team back. Like, they keep having, and this goes into my next point, like the crazy schedules that have been happening, which, as I was doing like fantasy stuff, as a commissioner, I'll say that this year kind of sucks. Because I'm trying to give everyone like a heads up. Like, yo, say your lineup. Then I'm like looking at the thing. So the NFL, and like, we do it through ESPN. So ESPN shoots me like this league manager thing. It's like, here's what's happening. It's like, this game's moving to week 5. This game's moving. I'm like, this means nothing to me. Like, you just tell me all these games are moving. So then I have to look at it myself. It looks like what the NFL is trying to do, they've been floating with TV networks, from what I've heard, where they're going to add another week to the season. But they don't want to do it yet. Because if they do it now, and like, let's say they bounce, like, let's say they have to bounce the Patriots or someone. I guess the Titans have been the ones. Like, let's say, and they're playing right now, I have the game up as we do this, and they're looking good. But like, let's say they bounce them to week 18 or 19, whatever it would be. Then if they get sick again, there's nowhere else for them to go. So then they immediately have to start canceling games. So throwing games on Tuesday, Wednesday, like whatever they have to do is probably going to be the norm. It's just going to be like the Steelers right now had the early week 4 bye week that we talked about. Now they have to come back and play entirely through the season and just hope that, that everything works out for them and no one gets hurt. They could also run into a team scheduled that has the virus, or they get it themselves where they get another bye week just because of that. But as of right now, the scheduling guy, he can't be excited. I'll say the people that should be excited are the TV executives, because like CBS now, they have a primetime game on Tuesday. I would assume the ratings are going to be high because now people can just keep watching football. And I don't mean in terms of other football games, it might not be as high as like a regular Sunday game or like the Sunday night or whatever, but in terms of like other TV shows that have been doing awful, football's been pulling millions of viewers more. So what do you think of the schedules and injuries and stuff across the league?
Well, it's just been a tale of this season. It's a similar thing happening with our team too this year. That the injuries come up, and it's just been insane. And I know from you were saying about the fantasy perspective, it's completely flip-flop the way that in years past that I've managed my fantasy team. And tonight was one of those examples where there was I had Moss on my bench, and he was questionable and wasn't sure if he was going to play or not. It looked like he was potentially going to play, and then he was practicing all week, and they didn't activate him for the game.
Yeah, see, that's one of the things, too. I agree. And I'm doing the same thing with my team. Right now, like I had the Bills defense, and they're not the best defense, and they're getting shredded right now anyway. But at that point, like I had zero intentions of even holding out hope that they were going to play. I ended up picking the Redskins. Awful pick by me, -1. I still got the win this week. But, like Brown, he ended up not playing for the Bills, the receiver. I have him. It's like he's questionable. There's zero chance that I can even wait till Tuesday to try to play him. Like, you're just going to have to, like, to me, my thing is I already have a couple of guys out, Eckler, McCaffrey. I have like 4 or 5 guys just injured. So my team right now is barely hanging on. I think we play each other next week. So when I take you down for another win, you can just think how embarrassing that's going to be for you.
Just wait, because it's all it takes is Julio to come back, and then my team will be right.
I'll trade you for him. You're not using him anyway.
He's not playing.
Who was the other guy you had this week that went crazy? I was going to text you that, like, hey, Matt, if you're not going to play him, I'll take him.
It was Ruggs, the jerk. He hasn't played the last 2 weeks. And I thought, he potentially could play, but he's not going to do anything. 2 catches for like 18 points. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
I know. I saw that they had him.
18 yards.
I saw him like, he hasn't been doing anything. I bet no one has him. I looked and it was you. I'm like, Matt, there's no way Matt played this guy. There's zero chance.
Well, he played really well the first 2 weeks of the season. Then he got hurt with an ankle or a hamstring, or like all of his legs injured, and so he's been out. And now coming back, like I think he's going to be part of that Raiders offense. And 2 touches, and he got like a gazillion points. Like, such a jerk. I'll start next week, and he'll get -3.
Well, before one of my top performers is going to be John Gruden, but I know that you mentioned Claysburg. Why don't you give an update on that? I know I didn't lead off the show since Dak was hurt.
Well, we had homecoming this week, and things did not go well for the Dogs this week. It's just been a frustrating season trying to reestablish an offensive identity, and we ended up getting shut out at home. It's been a hurter, but I feel like mentally we're not quitting and we're not blaming each other. So I feel like there is progress being made, although it's just reestablishing what defining success, because when you go from the first game and a half scoring close to 30 points a game to now struggling to move the ball because we're playing a lot of younger guys due to injuries, it's trying to just reestablish what that success looks like.
And yeah, I didn't want to bring up injuries as an excuse last week, but since we're on the topic of injuries and changing schedules, you guys have a crazy schedule to me anyway. I'll try to recap and you can fix any issues I bring up, but you're playing only a partial schedule. Then they're going to start high school playoffs on time after delaying the season. So if you guys get bounced from the playoffs, you could potentially play an extra regular season game for no reason after the playoffs, right?
Oh, I will do you one better. You are allowed a total of 10 games. So at the start of the season was a regular 10-game slate. So as long as you play 10 games, like you can reschedule with whoever at this, like after this week is basically when playoffs are going to start for other schools. So it's just trying to figure out, like, to navigate if the people within your conference aren't in the playoffs or they get bounced to the playoffs, you can schedule a game with them to try to get extra games in. So I'm looking at that as extra opportunities to get our younger kids that haven't been playing much, trying to get them some extra playing time in game situations and trying to get some extra film out there for some of my seniors and juniors that are possibly interested in being recruited and playing at the next level.
Yeah, and as cool as that is as a coach to do, I mean, you still got the crazy logistic type stuff that is just going to be, I mean, you can't really plan for it this year.
Well, you're right. And I think when you look at we're talking about like the NFL and stuff having COVID issues. There's a couple schools in our area that are now having some issues with COVID and shutting schools down and doing some different things. So I think that's another factor yet to boot, because one of the teams that we were scheduled to play now has some positive cases and they're out 2 weeks of athletics. So now they're not going to be able to participate in playoffs because of having to be in quarantine.
And that's crazy. So we'll keep checking in with you. Good luck going forward. I know it's been a crazy year, so definitely get straightened away, get some guys some experience, and start to get some positive movement on offense.
Absolutely.
Getting into the NFL, I have top performers on here because I feel like the past couple of weeks sometimes it's just been tough with the crazy schedules and stuff. We start talking about that and the show's over without actually talking about it. So I wanted to make sure that giving some players some love. I think I brought him up. I know I brought him up a little bit ago. John Gruden. People used to message us, Matt, and say about what an awful job John Gruden is doing. This is what the Raiders paid for. It's embarrassing. And then he goes out, takes down the number one team, and does it in a dominating fashion. And I know it's not just him. He's a coach. But he has that team clicking. And the Raiders right now, they're not in first in that division, but they're sitting at 3-2. And if they can continue to do that, get the offense going, get some issues fixed on defense, they could be very dangerous. Because like the Chiefs, they made them look silly on offense a few times. And so that's basically what you need to do to position yourself to win. But it kind of opened up the AFC. I mean, the Bills are undefeated. They're about to go down. So you're really only left with the Steelers and Titans undefeated right now. And giving a shout out to the Steelers, it's the first time they've started 4-0 since like the 1970s when they won the Super Bowl. That was the longest streak in the NFL. Somehow, the Lions and the Browns started 4-0, Matt, in that same time frame. What do you think?
That's crazy. That's a crazy stat.
I saw it on whatever the channel the Steelers were playing on. So I'm hoping that that's true, and I didn't make it up. They had an impromptu interview with Terry Bradshaw, so I'm thinking that they had the stat and they had that planned out. They knew that the Eagles were just so bad that was going to be a win. And so they're like, we need a segment for this. So they got it, and hopefully 4-0 means Super Bowl. But the Chiefs definitely showed that if their offense gets stopped, their defense has some holes. Can't get pressure, and then giving up big plays, like we said to Ruggs. I mean, that was just crazy. So we're going to go ahead and see if they can keep that going, the Raiders, and get some wins. I don't know. The division's top heavy. It's really only the Raiders and the Chiefs. And then you have the rest of the league. I mean, you have maybe the Browns. I don't even know what the Browns are going to sneak in, if they're going to take that other wild card spot. Patriots, are they going to bounce back? We don't know. So that's going to be something that we're keeping an eye on and seeing what happens.
But even
you got anything else for the AFC?
Even with the Patriots, they got to get past the Bills. Bills are looking like a formidable team now.
But their game's on right now. They're getting destroyed.
One game doesn't. They're waiting for the playoffs. They're saving it for playoffs.
That's very true. So I don't know, because the Patriots, they got to get their guys healthy. See what Cam Newton can do. They're one of the teams that, like you said about Le'Veon Bell, they've shown that they're able to just jump on projects. Like they brought in Antonio Brown and gave that a run. So I know you said that as a joke, but that realistically could happen. I don't know if it will, but that's something that maybe we could see them do. I don't know. I don't know if they need weapons like that. Their main thing is defense, and they have to have the offense able to do it. Unfortunately for them, they've lost both games on the road. And so I don't know what type of home field advantage some of these teams have, or if that's going to be an issue going forward or not. I don't know. Do you have any other big-time performers in the AFC, Matt?
Well, I was thinking Dan Quinn finally got himself fired, so that's a top performance from the Falcons. Finally making that move, and after giving up however many wins, blowing so many leads, it's about time.
Well, I'm glad you shifted into the NFC, because my main guy, Russell Wilson, if he doesn't get MVP votes, I don't know what the guy has to do. He took the team down, and I mean, you start with stupid calls. The call for them to go for it on fourth down against the Seahawks, instead of going and kicking the field goal and going up 8 points, they were down. The Vikings were down on about like the 10-yard line. It was 4th and 1. There was like a minute, maybe 2 minutes left in the game. And the Seahawks, I don't know if they had any timeouts or whatever. So instead of just kicking the field goal and going up 8, you're 1 and 3. You decide to go for it. You get stuffed. And then Russell Wilson leads them down the field, which I will say, I was nervous whenever he started throwing the ball, because I needed him to get a touchdown to win in fantasy, and so that's what happened. But he ran, got the first down, and threw 2 balls, because it was raining, just in the dirt. And I thought, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. And then the announcer's like, yeah, it's tough to throw a wet ball. I'm like, dude, don't even tell me that it's tough to throw a wet ball. And then gets the first down on like a 4th down. Then the same thing happens. He's like just throwing the ball way out over everyone's head. And I just thought, like, wow, like, you got to be kidding me. It's going to be just like a wet, not being able to get the ball. He went all the way down, got the touchdown with like 15 seconds left. And I just thought, like, wow, Vikings, you could have at least kicked the gimme field goal. Always take the points. I said it with Mike Leach last week. Take the points. Take the points. Like, I know you're trying to put the dagger in, but you're the Vikings. You're 1 and 3. At least now fans are going to be like, why do we do that? Now we just lost by 1 point. When before, and the Seahawks missed a 2-point conversion, so that could have been the win. Instead, the Seahawks just take it, undefeated. Packers undefeated too, although I haven't really seen them on TV this year, which is surprising, because normally they're trying to shove Aaron Rodgers everywhere. Drew Brees, I know they got a win for the Saints. I just don't think he's all there. So the NFC right now is wide open. But those are that's my top performer right now. Russell Wilson, I think he is league MVP, and I don't think there's any question about it. I think the work that he's done, bringing in different receivers, getting just points, getting it done, I just think that he's on the right path. Non-performers, though, Jimmy Garoppolo getting benched. I know he comes back from an injury, but you were just in the Super Bowl. Like my preseason prediction, Niners are going to take a tumble after losing it.
Yep.
It's coming true.
Also, speaking of people taking a tumble, how about your boy Tom Brady not knowing it was 4th down?
All right, well, Matt, when you're so old, some Alzheimer's stuff's going to fit in. I mean, it's just going to happen. So you don't know what game he thought it was, what scenario. I mean, he's been in so many big-time games that it's bound to happen. Who are they playing? The Bears? Like, it was bound to happen for them. The Bears are right there. And that's why, like I said, the NFC is so crazy. And I think with, like, the expanded things, the NFC East will get one team in because it's mandated. Then you have the Bears and the Packers, Seahawks, Rams possibly, maybe the Cardinals. But then you have that NFC South. Carolina's been winning 3 in a row after starting 0-2. They should be on my big performers list. Because Matt Rule, we know that he is good at building college programs. Looks like now he might have his program starting to roll. And like I said, they were struggling with injuries. Like, you lose your best player, and then you go on a 3-game winning streak. I'm wondering if when McCaffrey comes back, if the offense is going to stay this balanced, and they're going to be even more dangerous. Because I think that his staff and things are going to start to settle in. And the same thing with Tom Brady. I mean, Patriots have always, except for that one year where they went like undefeated in the regular season, they usually always suffer a few bonehead losses. He still has a better record than Bill Belichick. So, like, if you were going to compare and say who is the magic man behind all that success, like, it's Tom Brady. You get a 1-to-1 comparison this year. So that's what I have for that.
And definitely, Le'Veon is released from the Jets. I don't know if you were speculating that he might, but he is released. So
they got rid of him? They didn't even trade him?
They just dumped his ass.
No way. Because when I did the notes before, they just released him 18 minutes ago. So of course, right when we start the show. So good catch. Because I wouldn't have seen that. I just know that they had tried to trade him. And who would be interested? I think I saw the stat where he was like 52 out of like the top running backs in terms of production. Plus, you're going to have his big salary.
Come back to Pittsburgh.
Hey, that could be a thing. James Conner, I always wonder, like, he's always getting hurt. He doesn't seem to have that breakaway speed. Why not? Like, Pittsburgh, you're undefeated. I don't know if it would destroy your locker room, though. That would be my thing. Like, do you take a gamble not knowing if it's going to destroy the locker room or anything like that? So that's my big issue with it, and I don't think that they will. I think there are other teams that will take a gamble on them. I don't know what else could happen. I mean, like, look at what, like, the Chargers or someone. Eckler goes down, like, why not just bring him in? Give Herbert someone that's a veteran that kind of fits the mold of the running back that you want to have in that offense to be successful. You might be able to get him for cheap now. I don't know how much of the salary be guaranteed or what after being cut. If the Jets are going to pay it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things I look at with the Steelers too. Like, hey, are you going to be causing issues? Because that's why we cut you in the first place. But if he ends up going to the Patriots, that might just give them enough weapons. Could you imagine him and Cam Newton back there? I think that'd be pretty dynamic, and that would bump them up in my book.
Yeah, I don't know who would be crazy enough at this point to sign him, with knowing that he has the baggage.
Well, yeah. I mean, he hasn't proven that he's taking any steps or anything with that to get rid of it. So I don't know. Like, honestly, there'd be zero reason for me to think that anyone would go ahead and make that pickup. Bills are battling back a little bit in this game. Do you have anything else for the NFL?
No.
All right, so we got some schedule updates just going up to finish up on the NFL stuff. I mean, like, today plays, I'm guessing this counts. I don't know what they're going to do for the Bills next week. Like, I don't think if they play on Tuesday, are they going to be able to play on Sunday? Are they pushing it back? I don't know what they decided on. But the Steelers have the Browns coming up. This is going to be a big test for both teams because the Browns look like they might have something rolling. What are your predictions?
I'm just going to keep riding the positive wave. Just keep going with it. What do you think?
It's a home
keep
game.
winning.
It's a home game, and they've been letting fans in a little bit, not that much to make a difference, but I just think getting it home, it's the Browns. The Browns are going to give the Steelers everything they got because they need to win a rivalry game. They haven't shown that they can do that. So,
do you think Garrett's going to try to hit Roethlisberger with his helmet?
I don't know, but that is the big thing that everyone's talking about. Worried about facing the Browns, not Garrett. It's almost like, okay, who cares?
First off, have they ever noticed how tight Roethlisberger's helmet is on his head? There's no way Garrett's that strong to pull it off his big melon.
Matt, I'll say this too. I don't know if other people have noticed it. I did a look, and some people have commented on it. But Lane Kiffin is really starting to look like Ben Roethlisberger. They could be brothers, dude. I don't know what's going on in Lane's life, but when he has a headset on, it almost reminded me of like if he had a beard, and maybe the beard would make him look different, but it was almost like a clean-shaven Ben with the helmet or with the headset on. I was like, oh my gosh, is Ben down here too? Just doing double time. So that's what I'd say about that. Unrelated, I just think that the Steelers, what are they going to do? Ben Roethlisberger is not going to care about Garrett at all. And so, get that done. Let's see what happens. I think it's going to be positive. Steelers could be 5-0. Looking at a big showdown against the Ravens coming up and stuff. So that's my big pick. The other big game, Tampa Bay is going to be playing the Packers. Who do you got?
I'm going to go Tampa. I know that your boy's struggling in Bruce Arians' offense, but I think there's enough weapons that eventually Rodgers' star is going to come crashing down.
I'll say this. I'm going to go the opposite. I think the one thing that's really helping the Packers is the defense. And with Tom Brady struggling, I think that the Packers pull it out. Their point differential is so high, and that's one of my key metrics, that I think that they get it done. People start to question Tom Brady. They're sitting there at 3-3. They might be third in the division after the weekend. And I think that's when they're going to start to put it together, Tampa Bay. So I think they lose this one, bounce back, finish the season strong, or who knows? There's been times where they've messed up in the regular season with Tom Brady, only for him to just ball out in the playoffs. So we could have the same scenario. I don't know. But those are my big things. Any other games you're looking forward to this weekend?
Nope, just our game this week. We got senior night on Friday, so that's the big game I'm looking forward to.
Well, good luck with that. We'll take a little break for football. Getting into just other sports real quick, a little check-in. The NBA, LeBron James gets it done in LA. The headline was like, people need to just stop talking about Michael Jordan and LeBron James because he won with 3 different teams. And to me, it's almost like, why? Because now LeBron James is just bouncing around trying to find teams he can win with. Like, he joined up with Anthony Davis. He was considered like the best player. Like, he was in the MVP conversations. It's almost like Michael Jordan wouldn't do that. Could you imagine like if he just teamed up with someone like Charles Barkley? I don't know who would be. I don't know who would be considered the best, but like that's what I would think of. It was almost like, hey Charles, you haven't won a championship. You should come. We should go out to LA. Like, could you imagine if Jordan did that? He's like, they have a young kid named Kobe Bryant. It'd be us, me, you, and Kobe. That's the exact same thing.
I'm getting tired of getting beat up by Rodman and Lambeer. I'm going to go to Detroit. I could just help elbow people.
And I think part of it is he picked LA. Like, if you're going to go there to the Lakers, like, you're not going to get an extra point of respect from me, and I think most fans. And I think people voted with their eyeballs by not watching. So, yeah, like, to me, it would have been more impressive if he would have went to the Clippers. Or, like, go to a team that hasn't won, like you did with Cleveland. If you elevate, like, 3 different teams that all hadn't won championships, that would have been awesome. But you went to Miami that already had a championship. Then you went back to Cleveland. You did it one time. He took a team that didn't have it, got them a championship. Just like Jordan, I don't think the Bulls had any championships till he got them. That's like their only championships. He could have had that exact same scenario at Cleveland, but he didn't. Then he had his pick. Go to any team. You're teaming up with other great players anyway in free agency. It wasn't like a team traded for him. He just went there because he knew it had the best time, took a pay cut or whatever he needed to do, get players around him. Great. But, like, it's not going to be, like, must-watch TV for me, and I don't think anyone else really. Because to me, that, like I said, that's not impressive. You're going to essentially the Yankees. And that's why I have, like, respect for Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds could have went to the Yankees and been, like, a DH. Did he do that to get his ring? No. Never got one. I'm sure he regrets, like, oh, yeah, I could have done that. Everyone wanted me to be a DH somewhere. He could have went to the Red Sox or the Yankees. That's basically what LeBron did. So, that's you have anything else on that?
No, I think that's a fair enough assessment on the situation.
And I'm bringing in Barry Bonds because I consider Barry Bonds to be the best baseball player of my lifetime. I don't think anyone's close, and I think his stats are there. And the fact that the media and everyone tries to keep him down, I think that only cements my point. Because, like, Barry Bonds had the Pirates there, very LeBron-esque. He was with the Pirates. They had, like, some front office issues, just like LeBron did with Dan Gilbert or whoever the head of the Cavs is. He left. It would almost be like Barry Bonds going to San Francisco, winning the World Series, then coming back to Pittsburgh and saying, no hard feelings, I'm going to get you guys a championship too. And then after that, teaming up with the Yankees as a DH just to get his stats up. That would have been the exact same scenario.
Well, I think it's funny that he had the comment to be like, and I want my respect too, like, you went to a team where then they got all these guys around you because they knew, like, their window is right now to win. So they teamed
like
up
I said,
with a bunch of other good players.
It's not just the players to me, it's the team. Like, you went to one of the number one teams. Like LA, I think are they tied with Boston now in terms of championships? Do they have more? I don't even know what the thing is. Because I know it's weird. The Lakers claim some championships that they won in Minnesota. But then, like, the NBA announced that Seattle, like, if they brought another team back to Seattle, they would keep their history. So, like, they didn't want the Thunder to have that history. So I'm a little confused on that. Why do the Lakers get to claim those? And why don't they go to the Timberwolves then, if that's the NBA's official stance on it?
Pad the West Coast.
Yeah, they get those LA numbers up. But, like, LeBron, it's like people talk Kareem, Magic, Kobe. Now you're just another name in LA history. You could have been the number one guy in Cleveland forever, like Michael Jordan is for the Bulls. Or, like I said, if you want to change teams because you know you have a short window, go to teams that haven't won it. You're going to have the same guys come with you. You tell them, like, look, we can go to so-and-so city. We will be legends. Instead, they're like, hey, let's go to LA so we can do some TV shows. It's like, okay. I'm checked out. And if people think that I'm making it up, the numbers, I think they came in. I have them up. I know people don't. They get annoyed by this segment, but right now it's very important as, like, sports come back for, like, the basketball and stuff. The Game 6 ratings were up. What did it say? 5.6 million. Like, that's not that good. The Sunday Night Football game had 11.4 million. That was the Seahawks and the Vikings. So football had double the championship game sealing numbers for the NBA. Like, I think the average from the Hill is where I'm getting these numbers. They averaged 5.6 million, the lowest ever. So they brought in politics. They tried to backtrack on it. They had all the Chinese conspiracies type stuff where they were, like, not talking about it. Then they were, like, supported China. So they had that political stuff going on. And then when people went with that, then it was like almost like, hey, we're still going to do it. We're going to do it in the bubble. And then you have people like LeBron crying for respect. No one cares. So now they have a problem because when are they going to start? It's almost like hockey. Hockey should be starting very soon. If, like, preseason should have already been started. Now they're pushing it back. Like we said, it's going to ruin their entire seasons. And I don't want to just call out the NBA. The hockey, their ratings were down too. But the hockey, every year their TV gets worse and worse. They keep adding more and more games to NBC Sports instead of on regular NBC. And it's going to hurt their ratings. Now, whenever you have the NBC network showing football games instead of the Stanley Cup games, I mean, of course their ratings are going to go down. The basketball one and them, it's not a one-to-one comparison because basketball, they were still on ABC, I believe, all of their games. Where hockey, it's like 5 of their games are all on NBC Sports. It's like, people aren't going to watch that. They're just going to go to NBC Main and watch whatever the Browns play the Bengals or whoever is on the NFL. So, I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. You have anything else on that?
No, I kind of thought you were going to bring that up, and I agree that I think as soon as they started pushing some of the political stuff, that it was going to hurt. It was going to hurt the NBA's ratings.
And I know, and I hate to bring it up, but it's a point that if you go on enough, you just go online, look at any news article that allows comments, and it's brought up almost immediately. And so they try to like ignore it and say it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, it doesn't matter. And then baseball seems to be up a little bit, their ratings. So it's crazy that I saw some people putting out stats. They conveniently left out Major League Baseball because baseball's been up for some reason. So they compared the NBA ratings to golf and hockey. Funny how they didn't mention baseball. So, and I mean, this is normal baseball time. Baseball fought to have their championship around the same time when people expect it to be. Hockey and basketball didn't do that. That could have been a point into their ratings, but baseball is not having that issue right now. So,
yeah,
that's what I see. Anything else, other sports before we get back into football?
Nah, let's get back into it.
Yeah, I've been trying to keep the other segments down, but like I said, I had to bring it up because normally we have a whole episode to the hockey and basketball playoffs and the finals because that's the only thing that's on other than baseball. So it's just a weird year. Same with the SEC. SEC comes back. I got to give a mark to my man, Mike Leach. I don't know how your offense can get shut down so much by Kentucky, but around the SEC as a whole, there's been no defense other than that random Kentucky. I mean, teams are scoring. They said LSU, Bo Pelini's in trouble because Coach O was like, yeah, the defense is better than last year. They're giving up record numbers. Record numbers, they're 1 and whatever. Almost every team in the SEC has a loss. You're down with 2. If this was a traditional year, people would be talking about the SEC being out of the playoffs, not getting multiple teams in. So I almost wonder what's going to happen this year because Alabama plays Georgia this weekend. I don't know if we're going to have many one-loss teams left. I will add this note because I have it in here and I don't want to forget to bring it up. Tennessee and Texas and Michigan, they're all the same. Hyped up. People were like, they're back, baby. 1997 all again. And then what happens? They play a rival, and then they lose. Michigan can't beat Ohio State. Texas, you have Oklahoma right here. All you have to do is beat them. I think they beat them one time. Like the schedules are the same. People keep saying, Michigan never beats Ohio State. I don't know why that's still a rivalry. Texas never beats Oklahoma. It's almost like they beat them once or like 2 or 3 times the past 13 years. Michigan's done worse, but very similar. Then you have Tennessee. Can't beat Georgia. Can't beat Alabama. It's like you can't beat anybody. It doesn't matter. You're undefeated. You want to make a move. You could have taken down Georgia. You had a lead. Announced that you're back. People aren't going to think those big 90s teams are back until you take the rival and you're able to just go ahead of them. And so I wanted to point that out. I had that in my notes. I just thought, well, Tennessee's up. I almost texted you guys before the games even started. Texas is going to lose, and Tennessee's going to lose today. Book him. Maybe I should start giving betting advice like that. If you know you're playing a rival and the team just never beats them, like anyone that bets on Michigan, it's like against Ohio State, it's like, why? What are you doing? You have 13 years right now of data, or however many years the streak is, where they've like won one time in like 13 years. You have that many years of data. You'd be coming out on top if you just bet Ohio State every year. Use it. Use the information. Oklahoma, I just talked last week about them potentially being on a downslide, and this is Texas's time to take them over. Year 4 of Lincoln Riley, they should have beat them. They should have beat Oklahoma and went from there, but instead, what happened? They didn't. And now everyone's like, oh, we don't know who's good in the Big 12. Are they in the playoffs? If Oklahoma wins out, they shouldn't be in the playoffs, although we might not have any undefeated teams left. The ACC people, I got messages, people making fun of me after my Notre Dame prediction. That could 100% happen. I don't know if the ACC will let it, but Notre Dame could finish with 1 loss, be in the playoff hunt, and opt out of the ACC championship game. I should call up their chancellor or their AD and tell them that should be their plan. Because the ACC right now is in a better position, and they should just position it like, hey, we know that Notre Dame gives the ACC a cut of their money. Like, that's part of their deal. Notre Dame also gets like part of the Orange Bowl money or whatever. So that union only works if Notre Dame and the ACC get into high bowl games. So right now you have UNC, Clemson, Notre Dame undefeated in the ACC. They really need the Tar Heels to win that division. Now they play Notre Dame, so my plan would be Notre Dame loses to Clemson. UNC beats Notre Dame, which might even give them the tiebreaker. I don't know. Or no, Notre Dame would beat UNC. They both have 1 loss. The head-to-head would say that Notre Dame should be in the championship game. I think they should just take a step back and say, you know what? We don't want that second loss. We don't want it because then they're not going to put us in. There's no way the playoff committee is going to put UNC in with 1 loss. They would be drooling for an Auburn or anyone else. I don't even know if Auburn has more than 1 loss already. I think they do. But like a 2-loss Penn State, they'd pick over a 1-loss UNC. I'll put that out there. So,
well, you were saying about the SEC, and I had to laugh about this because I enjoyed watching Jimbo once again beat the Gators. And did you see Dan Mullen's press conference?
Which one?
Where he was saying that he thinks they're the model of safety of what they've been doing during the COVID period, and he feels like the swamp should be packed.
I saw that one. I didn't know if there was another one because I didn't watch the game. I did see that one because it's been trending pretty hard.
Well, here's the funny thing. This is why it's trending right now, because Florida football has suspended all team activities after an increase in COVID-19 positive tests.
And that's going to be one of the issues because their conference right now, like I said, they're down. Everyone was predicting that the SEC was just looking for a way to get 2 or 3 teams in the playoffs this year. They're going to be lucky. They're going to get 1. And it's going to be Alabama. Just like normal.
Yes.
And then that's going to be it. Because the rest of the teams are beating each other up. They're not good. Jimbo Fisher's there. Like, even if... I don't even know. I just don't see anyone beating Alabama. They look too balanced right now. I know Ole Miss gave them a run. But Nick Saban called out Lane Kiffin saying that he might still know the signals. It's like, okay. That's why your defense is that bad? Okay.
But that was funny because, number one, there's no way that they're keeping their signals the same. And 2, Lane Kiffin responded and was like, we're running up-tempo offense, so you're still looking to get your defense. We've already called our play by the time you're sending yours in.
I know. Lane Kiffin showed that he can call some plays. And that's why I think if Ole Miss gets back to their shady recruiting stuff where they're bringing in some top classes, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they're taking over like that LSU spot in the conference. Because right now, for all we know, that Joe Burrow year could be a blip for LSU. I didn't think Coach O was calling good games before that. I said that was a bad hire. He hired just the right assistants and had the right quarterback transfer in. And now it's almost like the total reverse. So People are like, oh, this should be a down year for LSU. LSU should never have a down year like this for like a 4-year coach. Or however many years been there, 5 years, 3 years, I don't even know. Like, they should never have that downturn. I've never seen anyone say, hey, yeah, Dabo Swinney, he's due for a good 4 and 6 year.
No, but the thing that Dabo Swinney also did was paid Brent Venables $1 gazillion. I think if Ogeron tells Dave Aranda, here's $1 gazillion, stay as the DC, that you're not seeing the issues that LSU's having right now either.
Well, he also only loses to one good team a year. Like, you can't lose to Mississippi State and Missouri in the same year. Like, Dabo Swinney would never do that.
They should never lose to Missouri.
He'd lose to Pitt, though, or someone random. But he would never do that twice. He would never lose to Pitt and then, like, NC State. Like, you got to do one or the other. Like, he could lose to NC State because he's done that in the past. Or, like, Pitt. Like, just take your pick. You pick one or the other. Not two to start the year. Like that, no. So, luckily for LSU, though, they were able to play Vanderbilt, which is pretty much the SEC body bag game, the equivalent of Rutgers. And so they got that win. And now they had a little bit of a positive start, but I don't know. SEC, I think that like I said, their defense are in trouble. I think the conference, like, same with the Big 12. And it comes down to then, who do you put in the playoffs? Because the SEC, right now, I don't think Georgia could prove me wrong. I didn't think Georgia looked good. They keep winning. Alabama could run them right out of the conference playoff spot. It would take Georgia then beating them winning the rest of the way out, which I don't think happens. Like, I just think Alabama's going to win the conference this year, go to the playoffs. They're going to play Clemson. And then you're going to have 2 empty spots. Does Notre Dame sneak in by opting out of the ACC championship game? And then, is it Ohio State? Because it comes down to the Pac-12. Like I said, if the Pac-12 and the Big 12 only have like 2 lost champions, and the ACC's sitting there with Notre Dame at 1 loss, and maybe it doesn't happen. Maybe Notre Dame beats Clemson. Even then, why wouldn't Notre Dame just opt out and be like, hey, we're undefeated. We're just going to go right to the playoffs. Clemson, you beat up on UNC, and then maybe we'll see you there. Because that's what I would do. There's no league bylaws. I know they all opted in, but I would think that every AD would get together and say, okay, Notre Dame, you can go right to the playoffs this year. Go play Navy or Army or Air Force for your 12th game or whatever it would be. And let us do our championship thing. We'll see. You can drop the bag of money off.
Well, I think the big thing is going to be, when you look at the way some of this is playing itself out, I think the kicker is going to be how many games do some of these teams get in? Because with part of the issue with the Big Ten delaying their start and playing on this condensed time frame is that if they get a couple of schools that are hit with coronavirus and they're out 2 weeks and they're already playing a shortened schedule, is that going to hurt them compared to some of these other schools?
No. And I'll tell you why. Because of Ohio State's schedule. Ohio State's going to be undefeated and they're going to get in no matter what.
But if they're testing positive, like if they're getting positive cases and they're out several, like
Matt,
play
they would just
5 games and just put them in.
There's going to be like a 2-week break before the playoffs start, like normal. They'll be quarantined by then. The playoffs are going to be like a bubble. I guarantee that's what they end up doing. Those 4 teams are going to be like kind of bubbled in, and that's going to be it. I can even use this as a shift. I think the Pac-12 is the one where they need Oregon to go undefeated. If Oregon loses, I think they're done because they're only going to play 7 games, and like you said, they don't have a high-ranked team that can jump right in. The Big Ten, as I do the schedule preview, they helped out Ohio State so much with how asinine their schedule is because Ohio State doesn't really have any big-time matchups, man. And it's been this way for a while. So the Big Ten has crossover games locked in for like, I don't even know how many years. Michigan's locked in with Wisconsin. And guess who Ohio State gets? Nebraska. Nebraska's garbage. Like, if Nebraska came out and beat Ohio State, it would be world shocking. It's not going to happen. So Ohio State's schedule is Nebraska, then they go to Penn State, and then you got crazy games at Rutgers, Maryland, Indiana, Illinois, because that's their other rival, Illinois, for people that didn't know, which is all, I mean, Michigan's other rival is Minnesota. So Michigan unluckily gets Minnesota and Wisconsin, the top two teams in the West. Ohio State plays no one. Their crossovers are at Illinois and Nebraska. So they really only have, they get Michigan at home, which is always a win anyway, and then they play at Michigan State. So Saturday, October 31st, we will know when Ohio State goes to Penn State, they beat Penn State, they're in the playoffs. Because they're not going to lose to Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game, or Minnesota, whichever one of those teams beats Michigan and wins the West. Because that's basically what the West is going to set up to be. Which team beats Michigan? Minnesota and Michigan, they play week 1. That's the big primetime matchup. So the Big Ten set it up. Michigan, Minnesota, 7:30 on the 24th. October 31st, Ohio State at Penn State. That's going to set up your entire conference. I mean, they have the Michigan game against Ohio State on Saturday, December 12th at noon. And like you're saying, if they get coronavirus cases, we will see what they think is more important. Because, like, what happens if they mess around the schedule or whatever? Would they just make Ohio State and Michigan, like, the de facto championship game? Like, kind of like if they had to push another game back, would that be their championship game? And then Ohio State doesn't have to play anyone on the West? Knowing that they'll get a body bag, they'll just get to crush Michigan, and then they'll just be off to wherever the playoffs are this year. Off to the bubble. Now, Penn State could throw a wrench in my plan by beating Ohio State, but that hasn't happened either. They have had one win in the past decade, I think, versus Ohio State. So, and that was the freak year with Saquon Barkley. Guess what, guys? Penn State doesn't have Saquon Barkley. They just don't. That guy was a freak. And they still took like a kickoff return and like a bunch of other stuff to even beat Ohio State that year. So that's my Big Ten preview, Matt. You got big games the first week, Michigan, Minnesota. I think that sets the tone for the West. We don't know if Minnesota's a pretender, if last year was a blip, or if they're going to come out and compete for the West, potentially make that championship game with PJ Fleck. Because then you'll also have that showdown. Let's see. I got to see which week they put that. They kind of kept the schedules the same, but they also tried to like space them out. Like Minnesota plays Wisconsin Saturday, November 28th, like the traditional Thanksgiving Day. That's going to be another key game to watch because I think that will decide the West champion. So you got that game to keep an eye on. They also both play Michigan, so I think those are big games too. Because, like, let's say Wisconsin beats Michigan, the way they're doing it, it's not just your division. So that crossover game counts as a loss for either team. So if one of them beats Michigan and the other one doesn't, that immediately gives them a bump in appearing in the Big Ten championship game. So I think Iowa has to play Penn State. I think that's their crossover game right now. So, unfortunately for them, I think that's a loss. And so, yeah, they do. And it's at Beaver Stadium. So, like, Penn State's the other one where that's their crossover game. If they can get past Iowa at home, they also play Nebraska, which I said is a garbage. So, Penn State could easily have one loss if they can beat Michigan on the road, which they haven't been able to do. Even whenever Brady Hoke was there, James Franklin couldn't beat him. I was at the game. I know, Matt. I watched a guy just rip a touchdown. Funchess played for the Panthers in the NFL. He just ripped the touchdown right off the defensive back. Early in the game, set the tone. James Franklin didn't know what to do. So, that's what I think. That's my Big Ten preview. I know a lot of people are saying, like, oh, games could be canceled. The Big Ten spaced it out. They know how to make their money. That's why they get the most money. They know what to do. They say, these are our primetime games, guys. You only have to watch these. and then Ohio State would kind of let you just ease into it. I think if they wanted to be fair, they would have did what the ACC thing did and just didn't have divisions. And the ACC has actually been pushing that for years now. So if it works for them and they're able to sneak in 2 teams, I wouldn't be surprised if the SEC tried to do that next. Because you're seeing right now where the way the divisions are balanced and with the crossover games, like they added an extra game. So now Alabama's playing Georgia or whatever. They're just going to hurt themselves. So why don't they just go back to their old schedule like the ACC did? Let them get the wins. You can kind of separate your big teams or however they want to do it by keeping it regional, and then give yourself a better chance of getting in. And I think if they do, I think Notre Dame will join the ACC. Maybe not as like a full-time member, but like as a part of like they're going to try to keep their scheduling, because I think if it works out like this and they get in the playoffs, I think it's a really big help for them, because they can just say no to Michigan. They can say no to USC. Like they can get out of some of their big-time games and get more easy wins and say, sorry, guys, it's a conference game. We have to do it. That's my hot take, Matt. You got anything on that?
No.
What do you think of that Big Ten preview?
It's not bad.
This is the year. I'm telling you, Ohio State has to win a championship. If they don't win the national championship this year, it's not going to get better.
They will not. They will not. Bank.
Well, I think they follow the same path as Oklahoma. I mean, Urban Meyer was just such a great coach and recruiter that I think it's hard for them to keep. The big thing is going to be, do their rivals stay stable? Does James Franklin stay at Penn State, and does Jim Harbaugh stay at Michigan? Because if they do, and they're able to keep recruiting at a high level, once Ohio State starts chipping away, I mean, they were still losing to teams like Purdue with Urban Meyer, but Urban Meyer had his teams show up to play against the top talent. I don't know if Ryan Day is going to be able to continue that. Like, if they suffer too many heartbreaking losses, I mean, how many first-round draft picks did they have last year? Even look at them. Haskins is already out at the Raiders, or the Redskins, or I guess Washington, whatever they're calling themselves. So what's going to happen? How are you going to sell the next level when you really don't have the next level stuff, and you don't have the championship stuff that Urban Meyer had? So that's when James Franklin, this is the year for him too. Because I think and Penn State might be fine with just letting him go to the Rose Bowl every once in a while. I don't know what their expectations are. But if they can't beat Ohio State this year, I think, is it at home or is it at Ohio State? I don't remember. I had it up. So it's at home. They play Ohio State at home. This is the year that it's set up, a short year. They can't have any mistakes, though. You can't beat Ohio State and then go to the big house and lose 42-0. like the one year. Because that's what happened. They lost like 45-10 or something like that. And then the committee said that was a non-competing game, and so it was over. They didn't put him in. So can't have a mistake like that. I don't know. That's all I have. You got anything else?
Nope.
All right, still working on some audio stuff. I don't know if Skype's being weird. Hopefully we don't get an echo this week. Camera, I think I figured that stuff out, so it doesn't look like it beeped out this week. But we'll have big-time football coming back. Things are starting to stabilize. I mean, we have baseball going on right now. Some big-time matchups. People say, baseball, let's expand the playoffs. All that's going to happen, big money teams are going to be in the playoffs. You think I'm lying? Did you see the playoff bracket? This is my final bell. Hold on, let me just shift it to the final bell on the video. So you have LA, Atlanta. Atlanta for a while there had such a big budget that they won the NL East like 15 years in a row or 13 years in a row. I don't remember what the exact title was. They just couldn't go ahead and get past that round. So everyone's like, oh, look at all these small ball teams. Then you have the other side. It's like, okay, what are we going to do? Tampa Bay and then Houston. Houston cheated. Tampa Bay, I know that they're not really spending the money, but they went down to the Yankees. I really thought the Yankees were going to get it. But still, you're going to have the biggest spenders. Houston, the Dodgers, Atlanta's paying to get back in. Tampa Bay has their freak year. They're up 2-0. Can they break it? Can they Marlins it out? I don't know. You got those big money clubs, Matt, throwing the money around in the Final Four. So.
They played possum with everyone, thinking that they were going to be dead with canceling the first half of their season, only to come alive in time for playoffs.
Oh, I know we talked about this too. Pittsburgh, there are rumors that they were going to try to weigh in last year's schedule to affect the draft picks, which would screw the Pirates. Not so fast, my friend. People thought that was definitely cheating, and so they said no. And I think the Pirates locked up the first round or the overall #1 draft pick today,
which is great because we can see him participate in 10 years.
So I read a blurb. I forget who it was from. I don't know if it was Sports Illustrated or what, but they said that the last time Pirates had the #1 overall pick, they picked the guy that they liked instead of the overall #1 guy. And whenever they made the pick, people just laughed because they could have got him in the second round. They said there was audible, there was laughter. You could actually hear it. And then I saw a piece where people were saying that the Pirates' one change under Bob Nutting has been how he's forced big-time signing contracts like Bell and someone else. And I'm like, who wrote this? Did Nutting write this? Because I know he's not forcing any big-time salaries out there. Who are you kidding? I don't care about the draft picks, bro. Sign veterans. They want people to sign. Look at all the ex-Pirates that are doing well in the playoffs. That's what makes me sad. It's not even about that. I mean, watching Atlanta beat the Dodgers last night, because I grew up watching Atlanta all the time, it's almost like I just wait for them to lose. It must be a Georgia thing. I just wait for them to choke, Matt. Falcons, Georgia Bulldogs, Atlanta Braves. I know they're paying too well. So down here in the South, Atlanta's supposed to be my local team, along with the Baltimore Orioles and the Nationals. So if you buy MLB TV, you get 3 teams blacked out. So can't go wrong. Nationals won that World Series. Time for other local team, Atlanta Braves, to get one. So thanks for listening. Go to southballsports.com. Like I said, on Friday nights, I've been putting Matt's stream up there. You can watch his game if you're looking for something to do. And see all of our episodes, getting there, trying to make some other improvements and stuff, get back into the sports. It's been a weird year. I don't know if it's going to get any better. We'll see what happens. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.